And the upsets just won't stop in college football this year. Week 8 just wrapped up. Let's dive in with Miami losing to Louisville Friday night. Here's the thing about Miami. So they've gotten a lot of credit this year for being one of, if not the best team in the country, according to some college football experts. There are people that have been saying that there's no team as elite as Miami has been. Now, to give credit where credit is due, Miami has looked really good up front, controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball offensively and defensively. On top of that, Carson Beck was playing pretty well. Tony, true freshman receiver, I mean, they have offensive skill players, and they were just dominating teams, and they looked really good doing it. But in the back of my head, I would think to myself, there's still the chance that we just get an absolute stinker between Mario Cristobal and Carson Beck. Just one of the two having a bad game. We know this Miami team has a high ceiling, but what's the floor? And is the floor pretty low? And unfortunately for Miami, the floor is very low, and we saw that Friday night. And this game was on Carson Beck. Carson Beck threw 4 interceptions, and this doesn't put Miami out of the playoff race, but shows us what their floor can be and shows us what Carson Beck's floor is. With the Mario Cristobal thing, we've seen him in the past have poor game management and just have poor management in different situations that's cost him wins before. And then with Carson Beck, we've seen him have stinkers. We've seen him have multi-interception games before. And unfortunately, throwing 4 picks in a game where you're playing Louisville, you're not going to win that game. Miami still controls their own destiny, and they do still have a high ceiling, and you like the fact that they can control the line of scrimmage so much offensively and defensively, but they're beatable. They have holes. They're not perfect, and with Carson Beck, we've just seen that floor resurface again, and I think that floor for the Miami football program this year is lower than some people have originally thought. Let's go to Ohio State beating Wisconsin, and you might be thinking to yourself, why am I talking about number 1 ranked Ohio State beating a 2-win Wisconsin team 34-0? There are some things to like. Carnell Tate might be the second best receiver in college football, just behind Jeremiah Smith. Julian Sain is awesome, had his probably best day as a Buckeye. The defense is great, had a shutout, whatever, but I'm bringing up this game because there are some clear flaws with this Ohio State team, and I think it could cost them a game down the stretch. And when I say could cost them a game, I'm talking about Michigan. And as an Ohio State fan, that's very concerning. And the two things that I'm talking about are the run game, the inconsistency with the run game, and special teams. The run game, the run blocking with the offensive line, Ohio State just cannot figure that out. And right guard, Tegra Shabola, really had a poor game. The offensive line in general had their worst game of the year, I think, against Wisconsin. And Ohio State just cannot run the football. I think they averaged like 3 yards a carry in this game against Wisconsin. Now, I know the game plan was to come out throwing, and that's what they did. And that's where Ohio State is at their best, is when they're pushing the ball downfield and they're using their weapons, their quarterback and their receivers, and their ability to throw the football. Like, that's how they've built this team. But the run blocking on the offensive line is not good enough. They're missing blocks, or, guys can't break tackles with their running backs. And the running back conversation is a whole different story. I mean, you have second-year James Peoples, who just isn't really playing right now, or is not really playing well. He hasn't looked good. You brought in the experienced transfer from West Virginia, CJ Donaldson. He hasn't looked great. He's going to continue to get carries because he's experienced, but he's not making guys miss. Also, his pad level just seems kind of high. Like there are things that don't look good. So your best running backs right now, like RB1, RB2, are true freshmen. Bo Jackson, RB1, and then Isaiah West got some carries today and had some really good vision. And with both of those guys, Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, you look at them and you can just tell immediately that they have it, and that they're seeing it. They have the vision. They're making guys miss. They're falling forward. They're breaking tackles. And the more experienced guys, CJ Donaldson and James Peoples, just aren't doing that. So the run game is not at all polished. It's not even close to where it needs to be. And I just get concerned if you get into the game against Michigan again and they're forcing you to run the ball, or if Ohio State feels that they have to establish the run and not throw to open up the run the way they did today, but also the way that they did in the playoff run last year, they can just get stuck playing Michigan's game, and that's a concern. The other thing that bugs me is special teams. Ohio State stinks with their special teams. It's not good. Ryan Day says they spend time on it. I don't know. I don't know how much time they're actually spending on it. And it must not be a true priority for Ryan Day, because there's no way they can spend so much time on special teams and have it to be this poor. Going into this weekend, they were 128th in the country in average yards per punt. I know Ohio State doesn't punt the ball much, but barely scraping 40 yards a punt is not going to cut it. And again, okay, I understand they have a really good defense, so they can get by with having a subpar punter. But with how good this defense is, if you had a punter that could just flip the field and maybe hit a 50-yard kick, I almost said bomb, not even a bomb, just punt the ball 50 yards, getting those 10 extra yards with your defense can really put the clamps down even more, and Ohio State just does not have that as a weapon. Jaden Fielding, field goal kicker, missed a 38-yard field goal today. He's pretty good most of the time, but we've seen points where he can just miss kicks. He doesn't make kicks from 50+. Can't do it. We've tried over and over. He can't do it. We've seen him miss gimme kicks before. He missed 2 field goals last year against Michigan. They were both gimmies. And at the same time, like, can he step up and ice the national championship win with a field goal like he did last year? Yes. But can he miss a 38-yard field goal randomly on a day like today against Wisconsin? Yes. On top of that, punt return was a little bit better today, but I don't know if Brandon Inniss is truly the best option back there. I think there are guys you can put back there that are more explosive. Caleb Downs, I would like to see him back there. I understand we don't want to see him get hurt and get banged up, but he returned a punt for a touchdown last year against Indiana. I think there's so much left to be desired with special teams for Ohio State, and the combination of bad run game and bad special teams, I really hope that doesn't cost Ohio State a game later on down the stretch, specifically against Michigan. Let's move into Notre Dame beating USC. They get the win at home, 34-24. Jeremiah Love, great day on the ground, 228 yards. He's starting to get things going a little bit, but the question with Notre Dame is, do they control their own destiny? And at this point, you can't say that they do. Does a 10-2 Notre Dame team get into the playoff? I don't know. Like, we don't know what the field is going to show us yet. There's so much left to play out, especially in 2 conferences that I think about is the Big 12 and the SEC, where we don't really know who the true best team is. Like, I know BYU is undefeated. They won today. Texas A&M is still undefeated. They squeaked out a 3-point win against Arkansas, but you know, the top of the Big Ten is pretty solidified right now. Ohio State, Indiana are the best teams. Oregon is right there. I know they lost to Indiana, but they're right there. And then there's some gaps in there. It doesn't quite feel the same way, I think, with the Big 12 and the SEC, especially with Ole Miss losing to Georgia and then Texas Tech losing as well. So there's so many things that are going to have to sort themselves out, and they will. But I'm looking at Notre Dame's schedule. Like, I don't know what else they can do to add to their resume. They need USC to, I don't want to say win out, because USC is going to play Oregon, and I don't know how that's going to go. I mean, I don't think USC is going to win out. I can tell you that. But with Notre Dame, they play at Boston College, home versus Navy, at Pitt, home versus Syracuse, and at Stanford. That is not, like, there's not a resume here that they can build. And losing both games to Miami and A&M, like, I understand they lost both games by a combined 4 points, but you still lost. And not having a conference championship to try to boost the resume either. Notre Dame's in a very tough spot. They're not out of it yet. You know, if they had 3 losses, if they had lost to USC, I think the door would be completely shut on them. So 10-2 Notre Dame can still get in. They can squeeze in there. But we cannot confidently say at this time that they control their own destiny. We have to see how this plays out. And plus, we have to get a feel for what the CFP committee thinks of Notre Dame. So once we get the initial rankings, which will come out here in a couple of weeks, and we can just kind of see where the committee views Notre Dame and where they want to put them, they can put them in a position to, I don't know, maybe they're higher up in the rankings than we think they're going to be. And I don't know, this is a very interesting team to watch going down the stretch, because they're not going to have many opportunities to add to their resume at all. And they're going to have to hope that USC can go on a run so that they do have some sort of win on their resume that they can point to and say, we deserve to be in the playoff. Let's go to Michigan beating Washington pretty soundly at home. Really bad day for Damon Williams. Multiple turnovers. He had 2 or 3 picks. Also had a fumble, I think. I'm honestly forgetting, because these turnovers just started to come one after another. in the second half for Washington, and Damon Williams just did not have a good day. So this UW team under Jedd Fisch just don't play well on the road when they have to travel. Last year they did not win an away game. They did not win a game on the road. And this year, they go on the road and play at Washington State. They were kind of slow to start, and then they blow them out in the second half. But also it's Washington State. Like, we know they're going to win there. They go on the road a few weeks ago at Maryland. They're down 20-something, whatever. Come back in dramatic fashion and win, but that's not great. And then today they start slow again. They tied up at half, 7-7, but then they completely unravel and fall apart, and Michigan pulls away in the second half of this game. Washington just cannot start fast on the road or even really play well on the road, and that's a major issue for Jedd Fisch and something he's going to have to figure out with his program. There's a lot to like from Bryce Underwood today, 21-27 for 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He can run the ball. It's really interesting the way he runs. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's kind of a big guy, actually, and he's only going to put on more weight and get bigger over his college career. But he's not a little guy. He's not the shiftiest guy in the world, but he's very efficient with how he runs, and he can make himself small in a good way and just pick up yards. And there were times in this game where I thought, he might get sacked. And it's like, actually, he got 8 yards, or, he nearly got the first down there. So his development is just continuing to come along. He does sometimes just put too much on the fastball, and he knows that. He's young. He's a freshman. He's working through it. But if you're a Michigan fan, there's a lot to like still with Bryce Underwood. I think sometimes he's been getting some criticism for how he's played so far this year, which I don't quite understand. He's a true freshman. He's getting better, and he's only going to get better throughout the year. There's a lot to like with Bryce Underwood, and the arm talent is most definitely there. Jordan Marshall at running back in place of the injured Justice Haynes. 25 carries, 133 yards, 1 touchdown. That's great production out of RB2, especially because considering Haynes is one of, if not the best running back in the country. I'm not going to say he's the best running back in the country, but he's been playing. Haynes, before the injury, was playing like one of the best backs in the country. So Michigan is starting to figure things out on offense and get into a rhythm. So big picture wise for both Michigan and Washington, I think both teams still control their own destiny. For Michigan, this is really easy. Go undefeated the rest of the way. They have to win out. You win 10 games, beat Ohio State. Let's just assume that's a number 1 ranked Ohio State team. You beat them, you give them their 1 loss. That would mean Michigan's a 10-win team with a great win, that they're peaking at the right time. They are most definitely in the playoff, no questions asked. So Michigan controls their own destiny. I also think Washington controls their own destiny. Same thing. If they win out, that means they're going to have to beat Oregon. I think they get Oregon at home in Husky Stadium, so I don't think it's impossible for them to do that. I have less confidence seeing how they have played against Michigan today, but again, that's a home game for Washington. They're much better at home than they are on the road. And if they win out, that's very similar to Michigan. They're a 10-win team. They end their regular season with a huge win over what I think an Oregon team is going to be pretty good at that point still. So both teams are still very much in the playoff picture. They don't have margin for error, and especially I think Washington is a little bit more slim because people have already been doubting them. They're 5-2 on the year. They haven't been ranked in the AP poll, but I do think if both teams can go on a run and win out, then I would suspect that they probably both get in the playoff.